important investment. That's why we continue to invest in redevelopment projects, infrastructure improvements, and business-friendly initiatives to thrive. Our goal is to ensure Schaumburg remains a place
we're looking forward to seeing a lot of progress in the Schaumburg area in the AI and other fields and emerging technologies. Having said that, I would now like to invite our Consul General, Mr. Somnath Ghosh, to please come over and say a few words and maybe begin the AI talks soon. Mr. Somnath Ghosh.
Thank you, Ran. Namaskar. And my thanks to IEEE, ResearchNet, India Hub, always good host, the AI Alliance, the members of AI Alliance, friends of India. Thank you for coming. Friends of India. Thank you for coming here for this, I would say, curtain raiser of the India AI Summit 2026 with a strong focus on democratizing AI, bridging the AI divide. India's approach to artificial addresses a fundamental bottleneck faced by most emerging economies, access to affordable and scalable computing capacity. On data, India has chosen context-first AI. Forms like Vashi citizens who are not digitally literate. India is developing its own large multimodal professionals employed across technology and AI-related domains and produces one of the world's largest annual cohorts of startups launched in India reported last year that and the New Delhi Declaration reflects a clear stance. New Delhi Declaration reflects a clear stance. Emerging technology is marked
can affect millions of people almost instantly. IEEE approach is biased or prioritized. It could be through deployment contexts, where tools are used beyond the original intent. IEEE emphasizes a life cycle approach to ethical AI, ethical consideration, deployment, and ongoing monitoring. Responsibility is shared across developers, organizations, and users. IEEE has been a global leader in ethical AI. Zero is measuring the impact of AI on human well-being, developed collaboratively, seeking to operationalize trustworthy AI, not just claiming it. Get this certification, and all you need is being active in emerging technologies, ethics, and social justice. And the IEEE International Symposium on Technology and Society explores a specific technical society formed within IEEE that is called Society of Social.
So if no one has, let me ask some questions. So I want to say a little bit about that. Where are you guys located, and how can we, or any of the people who are working with AI in Chicago, get connected with you guys?
Sure. So there is we are XCOM members like myself. We have close to 4,000 members in the Chicago area. We are actively putting on and hosting events that are open to everybody, not just members. We encourage everybody to come attend our members. We are one of the partners with the AI 2030 initiative that is very strongly trying to shape the future of AI in the Chicago area. And we try to partner with summits like this one wherever there is activity going on that is going to engage professionals like yourselves in conversations that can help influence the future of technology in the right way. We try to be part of that. If you need more information, so it's a good place to get information.
have to get it to the project management level and design the software. So that will require a massive retooling of the work. Design the software. So that will require a massive retooling of the workforce and for AI operation, but it's not in the government's plan for next 5 years. So I picked up. So India, as I said, it's the technology. So is the infrastructure, and just look at the U.S. produces 4 terawatt-hour of energy today, and U.S. government is pushing all the mega companies to. So building huge data center requires electricity, and we have, as I said, we have to reorient the vast younger generation, both in the United States and India. And major thing for this is last time I told some of my bureaucrat friends that protecting data integrity in India is very important. The whole Western world wants access to the data in India, and you will see in the next slide why. And we as a protect this data for a very vital interest of India. So looking at the energy problem, the green curve is the energy increase, production increase in China over last 20 years. United States remains almost flat, and India is slowly growing, but nowhere close to China. So if you want to take a lead in AI, you must get into some real serious production of energy, and that is roughly, I will say, to doing something else life. And the AI was one thing which I really wanted to software implementation. So my AI desktop, a task. Task was essentially write a software that does my investment planning, manages my portfolio. Okay, it wrote the whole software on itself. I asked it to test it against some other program. Roughly 10,000 lines of code on it. Tested the code and produced the output which matches with any investment bankers. And the orange curve there is the AI come up with. And then at the investment laws, and there is nothing wrong with it. So you can see that without its own. Just think of, So the doctor is not looking at it anymore. There is an AI software which, and then if it finds something, then it tells the physician or radiologist to have a look. And that technology is also improving because they can measure now smaller and smaller. Of course, that's just in imaging technology. First software I learned, which is very good, is the diagnostic of. The key reason is India is a very. The key reason is India is a very diverse country, north to south, east. Very diverse country, north to south, east. Kilometers, you are in a totally different world, from language, from food, from way of living, in every way you can think of, which are very unique to India. Heart disease. I had to answer it. Any question, guys? Yes. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Or you can just shout.
Yeah, I can relay it back.
We've heard two speakers.
Yes.
AI is only useful if it creates a business result, risk mitigation, operational improvement, or upskilling of humans.
Yes.
When I hear India talk about AI, I hear mostly about the technical side of it, but very little about the other side of it. What are your personal views about the side I'm talking about over here?
You mean societal impact?
Business leaders directing their IT departments to implement and do the right business rules so they maintain software integrity that's been there for decades.
Yes. So that most of the business managers, the way I visit it, project plan or project document and feed it to AI, generate that project. And we are not far away from that in technology today. So in banking, like say in finance industry, where many of my physicist friends works, it's getting to the level that AI is deciding on your trade. Okay, so I give you finance thing. AI is doing work for. It is doing work for Jewel in its inventory. So it's in your life today. I don't know whether I answered your question. Maybe I didn't understand your question.
That's fine. I just want your perspective. Your answer tells me everything I want to know.
Okay.
Thank you, Shekharji. Hello, everyone. This is Harish Kolasani, founder of National India Hub, the one you're seeing hosted by. But frankly, we didn't do anything except giving the space. Ron, the man, he did everything. And the family and friends, Sunil, thanks so much for doing all this. I mean, we didn't expect so much of community coming together, and we are so happy to see this. And at the same time, we are sorry about the audio we had earlier. Basically, this audio results, the actual audio person was supposed to come here. He had some personal issue, and we couldn't. Us right now. So that's why everyone who are part of India Hub, we free counseling, immigration legal counseling. That so many activities where literally we have 140 organizations partnered with us, out of which any individual who think you can do this team, the team coached by India Hub, the team coached by India Hub, volunteer Mr. Sanjeev Palaniswamy, please come here. And this is a team who won second prize in the international. And this year, right now we are standing at the top of the nation with the Robo Run, which is a 545 out of 550, which is a top score in the country right now. So that's what India Hub team is. As I said, it's whatever we do. And thank you, Sanjeevji. And first we collected the money and we've been running it. And reason being, first we want to prove % proved what India Hub is, what we can do, what is our intention. And now to help India Hub run, and our goal is to have can come and we serve the community. That is the most important thing. Like this weekend, we are having Mongolian community, farmers of Mongolia. They are doing their Mela in this floor. The whole floor will be for the Mela. Celebrations in this building. So I'm telling particularly those countries because for us, human is human. That's the part of India. Thank you, everyone.
Sound and light, and I know there was a little bit of distraction the event because my talk is there, so I want people to hear. Okay, so I'm very selfish about that. But before my talk begins, Did I get that right? I'm very bad in pronouncing names, so sorry about that if I made some mistakes. So, of course, he has a huge experience with quantum as well as AI, and he's going to be our third keynote speaker. The topic is quantum AI, the influence of. We did a quantum hackathon on AI sometime back with CQE. I'm not on AI sometime back with CQE. I'm not sure if you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron. It was complete mathematics. I have to wait for 19 years to process what we try to think it's impossible. We are able to work at an enormous impact about drug discovery and finance, from United States, and we are setting up one of the world's artificial intelligence. I thought he should talk about quantum mechanics, which enormous change in the data processing power. So that has been explained. Then we created relationship with muscle. Physiological system has been connected with your genomics. But third aspect, the correction of this gene, which is a massive data management, which was not possible by digital computer. When we give this problem, it hangs up after 10 days of quantum solutions through this, and we are trying to locate how exactly we can intervene with the genomic sequencing. So once it is done hardly with molecules, now we will be able to read the molecule talking about it. This is the application. So we can talk about how much we will be able to monitor like a live media, which was not possible before. That is the beauty of your to do. For the Japanese prince, we were able to correct the drug discovery and quantification and created a new molecule in a gap of 15 days, which was possible with the application of quantum computing. Then comes to finance. As we know, Google does about $1 trillion worth of transactions. So every company does a huge financial transactions. But these transactions need to be really go through a proper protective layer. This protective layer is what we create called QKD, quantum key decryptor and encryptor. So this will protect. See, usually in a digital computing, you have this data which is a huge line of encryption. That encryption you will be able to devise through a sequencing program. You will be able to find out what key it is. Maybe 1 trial or 10 trials. Whereas quantum, it is like a fluid. It'll be running all the time. The number will be keep on changing, so you will not be able to intervene and correct it. So that is one advantage with quantum computing. Then logistics and supply chain. As you all know, you can create travel there and outward. So now we are setting up so space theft is happening. Many of those spy satellites are sent by the various countries are trying to spy various important data and trying to steal away. Now with the quantum enablement, we are protecting it completely. So the gravity mapping, which was not possible before, now we are able to do it very comfortably. And the quantum sensing, so sensing of data, various sensing of senses that we have been connecting through digital computer now become efficiently managing through a quantum media and artificial intelligence. So the confluence makes key area impact so nicely. And when we look at the landscape, we have hybrid architecture, quantum classical hybrids. Now, when you look at the quantum computing, there are two kinds of quantum computing. One is a superconductivity computers. These computers with artificial intelligence. Now, what happens? Quantum computer per se, you can't go and operate in of it. Quantum computers will be connected through a cloud, and the cloud you can access through a digital computer only. So digital and quantum has to work together, and this is the media where you will be able to solve your complex problems. So now agentic AI, we are talking about it, which is now quantum computing. It can handle huge world, can be connected and co-create the agentic AI. So it will reflect the technological superiority any part of the world at the same time event, which was not possible in digital computing. So now that barrier is also gone through. The speaker has been talking about energy in India is going. But now these centers which are consuming 50 megawatt of power, so we can reduce by 1,000 times. So energy consumption through, very sorted, linear working. It's a linear exponential. So every digit goes on exponential. You can think of the value matching, which was not supervised at all. Once your algorithm is fixed, final expectation that will get to drive through this. So Grover allows massive at a time from multiple. So algorithm, and it's quite interesting. This is what largely fixing what kind of a material composition in any component, which is not possible. Now with a quantum interface, we will be trying to classify the material properties. And quantum neural networks, as you all aware, LLMs needs active time. Now with this quantum interface, we will be able to drive it at bits, zeros and 1 to 0 and 1. So the mapping is superimposed. Place, whoever I try to meet, whichever forum I go. Recently I was present in UK. So there is a huge amount of expertise and involvement is happening, which is going to make a great difference. So quantum will have its innovations taking across the world. And goal of adoption and integration is not just to do things faster, it is to perform calculations. So we have to really drive numbers. So the numbers which are classically very important as far as your whole computing platforms are concerned. So the platforms which we see in classical computing, which will take the crunching of numbers takes a longer time, and with a quantum interface, it becomes easy. So we are trying to split the work that quantum will be able to do. Today, quantum computers are there, but we are trying to find what application we can run on the quantum computing. See, the whole world is looking for application. So we need more problem statements to create quantum is more effective. So moving from approximate AI to exact AI, that is the message quantum gives to the world. So this quantum is now applicable to your data centers, to a wide amount of area, which is every day it is evolving. So the confluence of quantum and AI going to shift the world in a large way. We are trying to do a small piece in this. We have got an organization called Broadino. We are in AI.
So there is a strong hypothesis.
And we streamline them, and Ron hosts them on the
Amazing project conceptualized by Arvind, right? So yeah, looking forward. I will. Yeah, here. Start introducing yourself. I will. Yeah, here. Start introducing yourself.
Tracking specific movements of the people, specific movements of the people, analyzing the bones, the joints, how they fit together, analyzing the bones, the joints, how they fit together. Players who don't together, players who don't necessarily need everything, but want to gain insights end up getting lost along the way. And like be the general library that you use for tracking. Existing COCO libraries only detect generic sports balls. So So that would greatly help with the trajectory. And then the final step is how do we use these things to back by specific video, which should be easy to. I'm also looking for color and size for all of the conditions to be met, so we get a more accurate result, or what we call help with the GUI, and finish out the product in which Python might not be a bounding box around the ball. It's also detecting the center. So the the ball in which it points, and then actually providing graphs and data to support that evidence. The main phase is the run-up, the delivery stride, releasing the ball flat, so that and upper trunk flexion, which is supposed to increase. We're going to analyze skeletal movements. So look how easier it is to analyze the entire body movement and develop high-level analytics to better help you. To better help you. So.
people? Would I announce? You want me to announce?
No, I got it.
Okay, you got it.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to get everybody back from the food coma that you're in right now and say that I am very excited to be here today because we have a very strong panel in front of us. What you're having in front of you is that a great mix of perspectives. You have people from academia to the industry, as well as research and real-world implementation. So we should have some really good conversation today. And unlike what we've done in the past, where you might see panels where I ask a question and one of them answer, and I ask another question, that's not how this is going to work. This is going to be an open discussion where we are going to challenge each other, have different perspectives, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and you guys all get to listen in, okay? So we're going to start off with a round of introductions. I'll start first. My name is Bictui Lee. I am the founder of LeLumen. I've led an organization with full accountability for AI strategy, governance, implementation, and operation. And as you probably already guessed, I'm going to be moderating the discussion today. So with that, I'm going to hand the mic around, and if you can please give your name, your role, as well as how does AI come up in your work?
Hi, I'm Abid Ali. I worked in tech for a long time, and I'm a professor now. And how AI comes in my work is that I teach data science, and I used to work in 2 unicorns who are AI-based.
Hi, I'm Daria Tsupikova. I'm a professor in the School of Design, and I'm a founder and design chair of Computer Science Plus Design program. AI comes out in so many different ways, as an educator, as a professor, as a researcher. So the presentation, what you saw, was just a kind of a little glimpse on that, and looking forward to conversation.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jimmy Kurian. I'm a senior software engineering lead at Microsoft, working on a lot of their AI offerings, especially for Fortune 500 companies. In addition to that, I'm also a U.S. Army Reserve officer, specifically in the cyber. And I'll hand it off.
All right, my name is Joe Olson. I am working for IBM, and I am the IBM representative to the AI Alliance, which is an open source advocacy group. We're the one sponsoring the food tonight, so I'm very happy to be here. And I am United States Navy.
Yeah, I was going to start with thank you for the food. Hey everyone, I'm Puneet Raval. I work for Amazon Web Services. I use AI on everyday basis, as well as I work with customers who are building. I'm the guy they speak to when they're starting to kick off their AI project. Nice to meet everyone.
Thank you. I'm Jeff Terry. I'm the Vice Provost for Research at the Illinois Institute of Technology. My research is more on the use of AI in materials characterization. So how can we better understand materials using artificial intelligence?
I'll save us the walk here. So just in case, thank you so much for the introductions, everyone. I'm so excited about this. So just in case if you haven't heard, one of the biggest themes that came out of the World Economic Forums in Davos today is that we are no longer discussing AI like it's a tool or experimentation. We are now talking about how AI is now becoming like an infrastructure. What that means is that AI is going to be everywhere and is here to stay. So why don't we start there? The question that I want to ask all of you is this. If AI is going to be like the infrastructure, very similar to the internet, where it impacts everybody and everything in all social economic of our society. So the question is, what needs to change when we go in and build it, govern it, and hold the company, the leaders, the people accountable for the impacts? So who would like to start first?
Yes, so since you came from Davos, I would just say that, Jensen Huang explains the 5 layers of AI in a very nice way, and he says the first one is energy, right? So I'll just start there, and then, the rest can speak about it. In my mind, I think energy is very important. That's why, I'm wearing digital emissions, because I'm a co-founder of a nonprofit with my co-professor from Harvard. we are very focused on energy. So I think if we really want to think about this thing, it should be how do we actually create new powers of energies and how do we actually reduce our emission.
You know, I'm so happy you said that, because in my opinion, if you really care about responsible AI, AI really should be your last solution so that we can conserve the energy and the cost. Because, you know, you don't want to use, you know, to kill a fly, use a hammer, right?
I think we should think about the human as in the center of AI, and this is what is the impact on the human the AI technology have. And this is always comes an afterthought, but because we march forward with evaluation and advancement and perfection, but this is something that we really have to consider when we think about infrastructure and integrating the AI worldwide.
I know there's an old IBM training manual that's been floating around on the internet and is popular on social media these days as a tagline, and it says that a computer should never make a management decision. So if we apply that in modern context with AI, especially coming from a military background where generative AI is being pushed as a augmented tool for commanders on the battle space and stuff like that, that doesn't alleviate the risk or the responsibility from people making decisions. So never should an AI or a system be the default excuse, well, the AI did it, so I'm not responsible. So as leaders and executives, they should always be in charge of the delivery of that product or service that they're providing. So how it performs in the real world, there needs to be a human taking ownership and accountability of the effects of it.
So, Bick, I like your comparison to the internet. The internet has not really been regulated at all. It just evolved into what it is now, and I think AI is going to be the same. Now, as far as decision making goes, we do that every day right now with pure heuristics, right? There's nothing that says we can't use automation to make decisions. We do that right now, and I don't see this going in a radically different direction than the internet did, or how any automation is used to make decisions now, any heuristics are used to make decisions now.
I'll use the same analogy of internet. In my mind, your software is only as good as your data. And essentially, when I pivoted my career to AI about 3 years ago, unlike the expert of panelist here, I did not come from machine learning or AI background. I had to learn everything from scratch. And I think everyone had to learn that too about 3 years ago. Honestly, the quality of data that's being fed to AI is not good, and it's only getting worse. And that's what essentially I think I would like to see change. Because the data that AI is generating is even worse than the human data. And that's essentially what we need to focus on.
Yeah, so I came into AI somewhat backwards. And this gets to the decision making. I came into AI because humans were doing a terrible job making decisions. And what we found was that scientists who were analyzing data were wrong 40% of the time. And that's actually a terrible rate when your tax dollars are going to pay for it. So what we did is said, can we do better with AI than this current error rate, catastrophic error rate of 40%? And so we started using AI to improve that. So my argument is AI can be much better at decision making if your humans are bad. And so if you don't have good enough humans, you have to be very careful to where AI can be a vast improvement.
You know, you bring up all of you brought up some really good points, because if you think about it, one of the things that I've heard at Davos, what she said is like, you know what, AI doesn't kill people, it's people that kill people. And I thought about that analogy, and there's something kind of like red flag to me, because in some ways, like you said, the internet, and we kind of it didn't cause the whole world to end or anything like that. But I like to say, so I like to push back on that. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, because in my mind, the difference between the internet is that it's, in some ways, it's passive, right? It's like it allows us to be able to communicate. It's like the superhighway, as they used to call it. Whereas AI, to your point, it was created with well-intention to be able to do math a little bit better, to be able to recognize patterns that us human cannot see, right? That's how we were able to come up with some amazing things in the healthcare and all of that, and I can go on and on. But the problem is that AI can never be 100% accurate. So what happened, to your point, Praneet, is that when AI generates bad data, right, because we didn't do the math formula correctly, or maybe it was correct, but it would have unintended consequences. So to your point, it's like, unlike the internet, it's like here it has unintended consequences and people make decisions based upon it. To, you know, like with the human interactions. So my question is, given all that, how do we make sure that what comes out of it, when it's good is good enough, right? Innovative like the internet and be able to solve those world, you know.
So I think I just want to go back to the energy thing, right? Thinking that, you know, if we think about technology, it's not the problem. Like say, it's human beings who are the problems, right? So then what should we do? We should educate them. We should educate people. And I go back to energy because if you think about nuclear energy, we can use it for electricity, or I can create a bomb and destroy the world, right? So that's my opinion.
How do I know if I'm buying a widget from Amazon that I'm not paying a different price than you? Okay, there's no trust, right? There's some algorithm that can say you buy more than I do, so you should get it cheaper than I do. We don't know if that happens. There's no way to tell if that's happening. It's all opaque to us. So I don't know if this AI iteration introduces new problems, or it's just amplifying problems we already have that we've gotten so used to that we don't even think about them anymore.
So my perspective on that is, or AI development, if you don't have good governance in place, if you don't have goals that you are working towards, if you don't work goals of what your companies that you're working for, or the goals that you're really measuring, that's essentially how I would go with
my mind. What regulatory environment, what governments works really well? What we should be using.
I think, you know, as you were asking this question, I think about traffic, right? There's universal law, you stop at red light, and then, you know, you have to have a seat belt, otherwise you get a ticket. So I think there could be universal laws, and then given every country, you have to add on top of that.
Oh, do you want to take that? Okay, then I'll answer.
I have a follow-up to that. How do you address the problem of governance slowing down innovation? You can put all the governance in place, but yeah.
Okay, so with regards to policies and regulations, I mean, like right now, if you think about it, it's playing out in the global stage, right? There's the race to AI that you might have heard about. So you have the Biden administration coming in with the executive order that they're working on something that's more responsible. Let's slow it down a little bit, making sure that we have all these safety guardrails in place first. And that led rise to a lot of the state level regulations. And then you have the Trump executive order that then goes in and said, you know what? I believe in the federal level that should have it, right? And if you think about it, a lot of the companies say that there's a federal level, meaning the company-wide rules and regulations, and then all the department, and then you can go in and build off of that, right? So they want to go with that route. And then you have the EU AI Act, which is the risk-based approach. And then, of course, you have China, right? Which is, you know, so China is a very interesting part. So let me start off with, I love the EU AI Act because it's risk-based approach. If you think about it, every single AI solution and use case that you have out there, you need to think about what are the unintended consequences of it. So if it's high risk, to have a huge impact on people or financials or health or whatever the case may be, then you need to slow down and make sure those guardrails are in first before you build it. So that's the reason why I love the risk-based approach. The problem I have with the EU AI Act is that it makes people who wants to do startup to deploy it, slow it down too as well. That's where China shines, because the big boys, I call the big boys, the tech big boys, likes to go in and say, we do not need rules and regulations because it's going to slow down innovation. Well, guess what? China is winning the war on AI, and they have one of the biggest regulator in the world. If you look at it, they're heavily regulated, but what they do is that they allow you to deploy it very fast. So I really encourage everybody to take a look at how the rules and regulations are being put in place, and what is it that makes one country speed up in their innovation than the others one. And when it comes to AI governance, you can Google it. There are so many frameworks out there, so you don't have to start from scratch. But I think the key word, and this is the question I would love to ask you guys. When it comes to governance, there's a lot of frameworks, but how do you make it practical? You can put the policy out there as much as you like, but if nobody can follow it, then it's useless. So I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on that.
So, see, I'm an educator, right? I believe in education. So I think the first step you need to take is educate people, right? Because in order to learn driving, you go to driving school, right? You are not going to drive unless you learn how to drive. So I think we need to start educating people, and then we can take it from there.
AI literacy.
I think it's a great question. In my opinion, is just as long as people know that safeguards exist, and as long as they're aware of the consequences, potential consequences, then they can make a choice. On another hand, there are many inventions and there's many things out there that don't have any safeguards, don't have people not aware about anything. So that's basically lack of knowledge. So if it exists, then people can make informed choices, and this is important.
I'll start off by saying I'm definitely not a policy expert, so I won't speak on that at a macro level, but at a micro level, what I see in projects from day-to-day implementations with different corporations and different organizations is that a one-size-fits-all kind of approach to governance is usually an indicator for project having issues. So having customized the ability to customize the governance and policy towards the specific scope of the project generally lends to more favorable outcomes and to those guidelines being followed a lot more.
All right, so the European Act. I was on a panel just like this in Zurich back in last summer, and I was shocked. I was the only American on the panel. I was shocked that the Europeans were all of the same opinion that the AI Act didn't go far enough. Okay, they needed to be more regulation before any of them can commit to it, because they didn't want to be told that they couldn't do something after they did it. So I was, as the only American on the panel, I was very shocked at that. On the governance front, is anyone impeded from using Gen AI today because of lack of governance? Everyone is using it, but they're absorbing the risk to use it. And I don't know if governance is in any kind of demand, because it would only be in demand if people stood up, organizations, enterprises stood up and said, I cannot play because this is unsafe. And it was similar with the internet when it started, that we couldn't conduct business over because it wasn't secure, but eventually became secure. So I don't know if governance is, I think it's a red herring. Everyone talks about it. To your point, there's millions of frameworks out there, but I think this, just like the unsafe internet, this is going to fade over the next couple of years, and no one is going to think twice about it.
All right, so like you mentioned, there are millions of frameworks out there. The framework that I usually suggest to all my customer discussion is don't have any guardrails, have an observability framework. just see what people are doing, if they're doing it wrong or if they're finding new creative ways to cheat the system. But you have the observability layer that is powerful enough for you to be able to respond to this. You can't put preemptive guardrails. That's definitely going to slow you down, and you might not even catch all the corner cases and issues. So that's would be my framework.
And I'll agree with that, because the best you can do right now is hide behind a benchmark to say that you are compliant, right? That's the best you can do. And if the benchmark is garbage or you abuse the benchmark, that's where the bar is right now.
And so there is another big danger, and that big danger is bad regulation can kill an industry. And relative to AI, nuclear energy is a great example. Terrible regulations destroyed an industry, and we're basically going back to the 1960s now to revamp it and reconfigure it. So basically we've lost 60 years in an industry that's going to be critical to AI. So you have to be careful when you set up these regulations. So I'll disagree a little bit. I do think you do need some guardrail. You need some barrier somewhere, but you have to have, like you mentioned earlier, the ability to implement, test, and try within that boundary quickly, easily, and cheaply.
You know, so I can go so many places with it, because to your point, we do need to have some sort of governance, in a sense that guidelines for those who don't understand AI, so that we can go and give, here's the guidelines, here's what you need to do, here's the risk area. In the meantime, because AI, unlike your traditional system, AI is continuously learning and adapting. So us human who's using AI have to continuously learn and adapt to the AI, because it changes our behavior at the same time. So in some ways, you have to think of it from a company's operation. You have to change your operation cadence. There are going to be new committees that now have to watch, to your point, how has the human plus AI interact with each other. We can't go in and tell our workforce, you know what, upskill, learn the AI, and train AI to take over your job, and now what, you're going to lay me off? But as leader, what you should do is that you should watch the human behavior plus AI and think about, we need to change the job description to now include AI and tie that to performance rewards, right, and career path, because otherwise it means nothing. So similar to governance, it means nothing if we just put a policy out there but doesn't have any consequences to it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that at the end of the day, I feel that if we don't have any kind of rules and laws to enforce, it doesn't prevent people from trying to experiment like Moltbook, right? Because he was over there thinking that, hey, what a lark. This would be fun to create a social media platform for just AI agent only. I mean, the unintended consequences of that, I don't even want to think about it. So my point is like, if we have some kind of rules and regulation, how many times have you seen it's like, just because it's unethical, but we can't enforce because there's no law against it? And I think that that's the reasons why we need to have some, to your point, Jeff, some kind of rules and regulation there. So
I think we can all agree that there are some boundaries that we don't want AI crossing, right? We don't want AI killing humans. We don't really want AI doing gain-of-function research on viruses, things like that. So there are some areas that do need the hard stop boundaries. And I don't think but on a daily use case basis, I think there's plenty of room to experiment within those areas. But I agree. So you need those hard boundaries. You need those hard stops. There has to be serious consequences for people who are certainly approaching them. But those are the keys. How do you do that? And one of my big concerns is we've never been really good at it as a society. We've got plenty of examples where we've screwed this up, Your traffic example is a great one. I did like that. I'm going to steal that one because it's actually probably the only one that works probably halfway decently. But we still have problems with air traffic control. We have problems with regulation in biotech. There's a lot of things well. And so I'm not convinced yet that we can.
As you were talking about, you're from the ground up. Do you see AI become effective in terms of governance-wise? Do you see that's good?
So I work with AI, developing solutions, new solutions. And one of the things that was interesting that you mentioned was, tying AI usage to employee performance and how they incorporate that. I do think that is a double-edged sword. And that leads into the second part of your question, because oftentimes what I see in my conversations with my customers is, right now it's definitely a little bit of a hype train, right, with AI. So you see a lot of folks saying, hey, I want to implement AI. I want to use AI for this. And their underlying problem is that not necessarily that AI is going to fix it, but hey, you have a data issue, or you have that AI is not going to solve. You need to Joel's point earlier, is going to magnify pain points and other issues that you have. And in terms of how that ties into, we don't have a focused plan, or in terms of going to be running, but not everyone's going to be running in all kinds of random directions, not in an organized way.
A man by the name of John. I don't know why John, but John. That at all is internal within the company. Great, so at least you're not irresponsible that way. So everybody would like to blame AI. AI is biased. I'm sorry, it's computer. It doesn't do bias, it's amplifying, to your point. So I was telling them, AI is not biased. You have an HR problem. Just like we just talked about with all these governance, and people so easily use it. And just like the HR example, what are seeing, especially with Gen AI, that makes it so easy for everybody to use?
That's a great question. So what we see and what researchers find, like across the East Coast, West Coast, research labs, MIT Media Lab, there is a lot of impact of AI on the social interaction. So people, lots of research about, how pandemic and social media isolated the youth and, us. But potential of AI isolate people, it's much greater. So it's already noticeable in the healthcare, mental health, that people kind of start, some people, who use AI a lot, the mentality changes, behavioral changes appear. So we have to, to your point, is that how do we evaluate it, right? If we just evaluate what it does to us, and this is without some kind of appropriate, at least approach to that evaluation, it will be hard, and we won't be able to, put those benchmarks and those. It's already part of our life. It's already happening. What is happening? What's the backfire? We don't know, but we have to move in that direction.
Well, it's an interesting problem because it involves people, right? We're talking about AI. That we're facing now is the energy use. And so with AI, as a human, which in the 1800s, energy, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, the energy, let's address that first. Gen AI. And Gen AI seems to be getting the raw end of the stick. They're getting all the car to McDonald's 3 blocks away to get a hamburger.
So I would say the electric car is displacing a different type of energy use. So it's a little different. I think the generative AI is actually increasing energy use, and it's increasing demand. So I think there is a big difference between the two.
Would it be better if I had my Gen AI powered off of oil or solar?
No, that much worse. Well, it would probably be.
That would be a really good sidebar conversation.
It all depends on if you believe in global warming.
I think the difference between electric cars and Gen AI is that the access is so easy. Anybody can use Gen AI. Not everybody can buy a $100,000 car, So that's the difference, I think. And a car can carry 4 people. Gen AI, anybody can use like 15 chat bots out there. So.
Then just like what we did.
I always tell them, hey, what was Ultron's mission? He had Iron Man's ego, right? But then the same Ultron in the end becomes Vision.
So, I love the directions that we're going here, and started with you, Daria. So thank you so much, because what I love to hear from each of you, like what are the positive things that AI have created for us, or actually what is the solution, because you offer one of the first solution, right? Because some of the things that we worried about is our dependency upon AI, because I love to read about neuroscience. And one thing we've all learned, all the scientists, is that, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? The brain is very good at being very efficient. So if we don't use it, it starts pruning all the synapses. So in other words, if we start becoming dependent upon AI, so I'm going to say this, I'm going to be recorded, but I used to be a great speller. Now I can't spell to save my life because I was dependent upon Microsoft Word, right? So the question, and you gave a really good example of how we can use AI responsibly, but without being dependent upon it. Because my fear right now, Mark Zuckerberg says so himself, according to research, there are, we only have an average of only 1 or 2 friends that we can rely on. So he wants to create AI friends and therapists for us. He's the one who started social media platform, by the way. So if you can imagine our kids right now, my girls are already going to TikToks, and YouTubes for information. Could you imagine the next generation is going to be using AI to influence them? So we need to start thinking about education and how do we bring those values back so we become human again. So the question I would love to ask you is that I would love to hear from each of you either something that positive, like for an example, because of this whole energy issues, we are not getting better at designing our chips, things like that, right? Or greening the earth. So I would love to hear some examples of how AI improved, or if you have a solution to some of those, hard, challenging questions that everybody's asking.
So I think the most important use of AI is drug discovery, right? Cancer, and Mayo Clinic actually solved a case, So that's, I think, where AI can be useful.
Oh, it's a good question, but on a personal level, I am so far from legal advice, but I could, can Google the state, the county, the specific question and get at least, well, maybe not a very professional legal advice, but at least some kind of a hint of where it's going to be. And that's helpful, on just a regular level.
Yeah, I would say from a perspective of a developer, democratizing knowledge once that was kept by maybe very senior developers, someone who was junior can now maybe learn something as long as the LLM doesn't hallucinate in a very short amount of time versus, hey, I had to read through 5 hours of Stack Overflow posts to find that one thing to figure out what I'm doing. Right, so that now that feedback cycle is almost immediate, so it helps accelerate learning, at least what I've seen from when I'm working with my junior developers on my team.
I was going to say code generation, but I think I'm going to side with you. If everyone's got equal access to knowledge, provided you can speak the language, the natural language that the LLM speaks, I think that is probably a great equalizer. There's nobody has an advantage that they've got access to better information. Everyone's got access to equal information. I think that is a better outcome.
I'll take an example of something very simple, not as impactful as solving cancer. If I call into a call center today, they have entire history of my conversation. They have the summary of all the issues that I've been part of, and they have a solution ready that they can just speak to. I don't have to repeat my problem 5 times anymore. That's a small impact, but I like that a lot about Genia.
Yeah, so I'll take the opposite tact here. I really want to be more dependent on AI. In the work I do, we're limited by the number of scientists we can produce. It takes 25 years to produce a scientist, even longer to produce a really good one. And so I can let AI loose on things that would be incredibly dangerous to produce or incredibly cost prohibitive to produce, and let AI determine whether or not it's worth it, whether it's going to have properties that might be useful. The first AI thing I ever published was on battery chemistry. And my colleagues gave it to me to test some of the code that we had written. But they didn't tell me that when they analyzed it with people, they combined 15,000 data sets into 3 files and analyzed 3 files. We let the AI loose on the entire 15,000 file data set and watched how the battery chemistry changed as a state of charge and discharge on the battery. That would have been impossible for people to do. So there's a great use to AI going forward, and we should all use it more often as long as we use it responsibly. So there are plenty of use cases where it will help us out tremendously. And so we've got to hit those use cases and make sure we hit those very strongly.
So I wanted to thank all of you for such a thoughtful and honest discussion. Because if you think about what we just talked about today, we're not really talking about smart AI, if AI is smart enough. We're actually talking about whether we, as humans, are actually designed to be able to absorb the impact of AI at scale, right? Because if you think about everything we talk about, we acknowledge the fact, to your point, Jeff, right, that we can use AI to solve a lot of problems because we don't have amazing things, but it's a question of, can we as humans absorb the impact? Because I sat at the table hard to create rules and policy that covers everyone, because there's always the one thing, and this is what each time I get a podium, I'm gonna have to say this to everyone. In order to, is that going to impact me, my loved ones, my family, my neighbor? Everybody, please give a round of applause to our panelists. Discussions like this possible. Thank you, everyone.
And big thank to Big to moderating the panel.
What are you going to do? Yeah, let them go first. So, Ms. Wong, you want to announce? Oh, okay. Okay, let me start the Okay, after the piano performance, we have a performance by 3 students from U High. Aiden, he's playing the violin, right? That's Aiden. Rachel will be on the piano. And Ruben, as you can see, is with the cello. Thank you so much for listening, and we're eager to hear from the trio. And Miss Huang is here. She's their teacher.